Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Education and Skills Corporate Delivery Committee of the 22nd of March 2023. Time is flying by, isn't it, really? So can I launch straight into the agenda with agenda item number 1 and ask for apologies for absence? I've had one, Councillor Fiona Gordon. Any others, Gav?
That's the only one I've had so far, Chair.
Lovely, thank you very much. Item number 2, do we have any disclosures of personal or prejudicial interests? Item number 3, minutes of the last meeting. Can we go through them, please, for accuracy? Page 1, page 2, and page 3. Are you content for me to for you to approve them and me to sign them as a correct record? Thank you, Lyndon.
Yeah, move.
Thank you, Mike. Excellent. Agenda item number 4 is moving on to the review of school governance spring 2023, and we've had a helpful report put together by Mr. Jeff Fish. So can I pass on to officers, Helen? I don't know whether you need to introduce anything or whether we can go straight to Jeff.
Happy for you to go straight to Jeff. This is a follow-on from the previous session, so obviously digging a bit deeper really compared to the session we had last month. Excellent.
Thank you, Helen. Over to you, Jeff. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Helen. Members will no doubt remind themselves only 4 weeks ago that I came to you on the 15th of February and gave you a picture, a situation of where I felt the governance was, how that reflected against the piece of work that was done a number of years ago by the inquiry panel. And I've set out here under the background to this paper what we discussed. I think it was important, and again, to recognise that whilst there was a lot of commonality with the challenges that were faced back in 2016, a lot of those are still there, but significantly they've exponentially increased over that time as well, and members were very attuned to that as well. The consequence of that, in terms of me developing a policy lead around this, was quite challenging, because it basically meant that everything was still in scope as such. So I've been mindful of that in terms of how to frame that and for this to become a policy piece of work to come forward. So what I've done, Chair, as you're aware, is pulled together a draft development action plan to bring to members this evening for their consideration. And I'll run through that with some of the actions identified and the outcomes that we're looking at there. But possibly the key point that I wanted to make in terms of policy, these aren't standalone policies, and it's deliberately framed in this context, is that the first action is around recruitment and retention of governors. So that's the absolute priority here, that all of the work that then flows under there from that first action is to support the effective recruitment of governors and then to retain them and support them in their development. So hopefully that just gives you some context in terms of that. These aren't going to be separate policy strands. They're all going to sit under that top heading of recruitment and retention, and all of the others are actions to support that policy drive. So just, I'm not going to go through it verbatim, Chair. I don't think you want me to do that, but just highlight some of the key elements there. So let's get governors in, let's support them to retain them and build expertise. And of course, that comes up later when I talk about developing this excellence pool. What I want to do is to use the limited resources that I have available to me within the Governor Support Unit and some of my other teams, is to make the best of what we've got. I know you could look at all of this and say, are there costs associated with this? Absolutely not. I have a finite budget to work within. I'm looking at achieving, it will be challenging, but I'm looking at achieving all this as cost neutral in terms of this. And that's by doing things, not additional things, but doing things in different ways, more effective ways, that we can deliver more the same and more. So that's what I talk about there in terms of new mechanisms. The second item there about new mechanisms will be constructed to share best practice by the use of Hub as a platform. I know there are some sensitivities around Hub, and in particular Hub Mail and that use, but we're here to support governors in terms of that supporting their need. So that covers item 2 and 3 on the action plan. The excellence pool, yeah, we have to. We have excellent governance out there, and there should be equitable, excellent governance in all governing bodies. So I want to look at the opportunities for that excellence to be shared. And once that has been developed, then governing bodies who will benefit from that, we will arrange a brokerage for that support to be put in place. That's the aspiration there. The next item then is increased opportunities to develop for governor networking to occur by delivering face-to-face. Again, we touched on this at the last meeting. Teams has been extremely effective in allowing governance to function throughout the pandemic, but we are at a point now where I think a hybrid or a blended approach that brings governors back to face-to-face and network. So we'll do that in a number of formats. I'm pleased to confirm, possibly at the last meeting, I speculated that we were going to have a face-to-face meeting for the summer term meeting for chairs of governors. That's actually going to happen now, and we'll be sharing the venue with governors shortly. More frequent and bespoke communications, just to understand one by there, because I think I've referenced before, Chair, I'm a chair of governors myself. We are inundated in information from local authority, from Estyn, from Welsh Government, etc., etc. Some of that I can't seek to affect because that will naturally flow. But my aspiration there is that the information that we get to you to the right person in the right time for the right purpose. That's my aspiration there. So possibly the use of, I just want to explain the use of the word frequency. I'm not seeking to further inundate governors from an already full inbox, but just to make sure that their frequency may be more effective. At the moment, we only send out one communication per term. And again, we may be missing key messages around that. The development of the database will allow us to achieve some of that. At the moment, some of the work that my team are involved is quite labour intensive in terms of that. So my digital lead on that has been doing some extensive work in terms of developing version 3 of that. And I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, but that's quite an important key feature, because the benefits of those change should free up my officers to support governance as well as they're doing now, and even better. And that you can see that flows from the next item there, that the enhancement of that will allow for increased proactive work. Working with key stakeholders, and again, just to clarify, and again, probably in the phraseology, I've mentioned partneriaeth, and as you're aware, Chair, at the last meeting, you clarified that partneriaeth doesn't have a role under governance per se. What I was actually alluding to there is we have now identified our partners at a operational level in those authorities that sit under partneriaeth, so in Pembrokeshire and Carmarthen, and we're looking at opportunities there for joint working and joint developments there. So although it may not be at a corporate and strategic level in the partneriaeth, we're looking at that at an operational level to take forward. And obviously I touched on there about the Swansea Association of Governing Bodies. Yeah, at the moment, my understanding from the limited contact that I've had with some individuals with that is that that's not functioning in the format that it used to. And whilst correctly that association is owned by the association itself, what we're looking to do is to put in any support and offer that we can to assist them in that coming back to be the effective medium that it was before, Chair. And I'll pause there and take any questions.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much, Jeff. Can I thank you for this report? Can I support my view that your opening comments, you took a lot of information last time, a lot of comments from councillors, lots of questions and queries, and based on a great platform from Councillor Gordon's scrutiny inquiry some years ago, and he managed, I think, to do a very good job of summarising the key points and boiling them down into distilling them down into a very meaningful draft action plan. Can I open up Excuse me. Questions and queries from committee colleagues, please. I can't see any hands raised online. Like, oh, there we go. There's a few now. If only I could see the screen. Councillor Mike White, please. Mike.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, a very interesting report put together, but Jeff, regarding the action plans, I think the issue is with governors, there's a new role that people take on, and obviously it's all about then getting and to know exactly what's involved. And the important part of this, I believe, is that that they learn from other governors, and of course from the senior leadership team in the school, so they know they're part of a family, and they work in for the main aim of the school. So, you know, rather than perhaps bombard new governors with documentation or whatever on different things related to how school governing bodies work, I think possibly governors should be more of an actual a very critical friend in nurturing them and bringing new governors on. You know, they're taking on that role, a new role probably that they're keen to know more about. Plus, if they're the parent, especially to know how the child's education is being rolled out within the local education authority. But I think it would be important that there's a sort of exercise or a mechanism that we can, you know, when new governors come on board, that we can, you know, sort of nurture them along and you know, explain to them what the process is. And in regards to perhaps trying to encourage other people outside or professional people, what you might find, the question might be asked, well, how much do I get? So I know that's an issue that I have heard a few times been commented to me when you know, the likes of perhaps business people or you know, from like, you know, the legal profession or something like that might be interested in. The first thing you want to know is, well, how much fee do I get for attending governors' meetings? But as I said, overall, Jeff, I think if we can perhaps get new governors to sort of when they come on board, that they sort of a sort of softly approach.
Thank you very much, Mike. A helpful comment. Would you say that the critical friend and the nurturing approach should be face to face, or could it be done, you know, online? What would you think, Mike? Would you think face to face is best and preferable?
I would certainly say so, Chair, because they would, especially if they live within that community, as I said, like a parent representative or somebody, you know, a co-opted member, because they're fully aware of the school establishment, and they would feel more comfortable, I would imagine, in actually those working surroundings.
Yeah, that's really helpful, and I suppose we could do this kind of nurturing in community facilities, maybe the school, maybe not the school. You know, what do you think, Jeff? Comment?
Yeah, Chair, and thank you, Councillor White. I can assure you it's not my intention to bombard governors as such with this. I appreciate it's a lengthy action plan, but absolutely not my intention to bombard. It is, and it picks up on your thread there, it is about supporting and developing and doing it in an appropriate manner. Certainly one of the things that I've had some exposure to before, beyond the authority boundaries, is an effective and structured mentoring program for new governors. So I want to tap into some experiences I've had myself in terms of that, and that will come not directly from us. We'll support and make sure that mentoring is available. But that mentoring is important, as you recognise there, is from the communities themselves, from the schools themselves, the communities themselves, and possibly extending that in terms of developing the abilities and supporting chairs and new chairs or prospective chairs of governance is around this excellence pool and opportunities for coaching and mentoring there, and for buddying as well. You know, it's quite an isolating, those of us who are chairs of governors, it can be quite an isolated position. So opportunities, obviously with no breach of confidentialities and GDPR, obviously, but opportunities for a buddy system for support there. And again, what that goes back to is the start of my thread is about effective recruitment, and retaining then good governance and building on that.
I really like the context set in this area. I like Mike's use of the family. The welcome to the family. This is community. It is us. It is ours. We are in it together. And I really like the buddy system, being led by one another. That's really helpful. Anything to add there, Mike?
No, as you say, Chair, I think, we all sort of started from day one being governors. I remember when I went on in 40 years ago the school, and there were LMS and all different systems in place then, and it's just that it's an actual learning curve, and listening to what goes on and being knowing and how the school actually functions and to ask questions and also to challenge, really, in areas where you feel that you could contribute to,
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Mike. Can I go to Councillor Lyndon James first, Robert? Is that okay, Councillor James? Lyndon?
Hi, afternoon, Chair. Could I thank Jeff for the excellent work that he's done in putting this action plan together. It really is really first class, and I think being a chair of governors yourself probably shows through, because you know what it's like firsthand. The point that Mike made is very important. The only thing I'd say is possibly it is useful probably to use Teams for some of the mentoring, because most people nowadays can use Teams, and we probably get better attendance. And I say, when I say most people can use Teams, I'm sort of living proof, really, that we just get used to doing it. And I think that's probably the same for most people today. But the other point I'd make is really important to get the right skills matrix in place for each school, so that everybody, you've got the right skill sets. Otherwise, you might find that you've got everybody okay for one aspect, but not another.
Lovely, thank you very much, Lyndon. I think that's a point well made about the Teams context. I mean, it's a heck of a difference from the bottom of the city and county Swansea to the top, and from one side to the other side. And if we're thinking about regional links, as you explained then, through the partneriaeth structure, then there's an awful lot of travelling, or work smarter and use Teams. Thank you very much, Lyndon. Councillor Smith?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I echo the thanks for Jeff's report. But to go back to Councillor White's point, I haven't quite been 40 years, 32 years I've been on a governing body. And yes, I do remember at the start, it can be a very daunting experience to walk into your first meeting. And I think it's how we make sure that newly appointed governors, feel part of the governing body from day one, and that their contribution and their potential contribution is recognised. Because one of the issues, we don't want stagnation. We don't want the same people on the same governing bodies all along. And I mean, that is not a healthy situation. Neither do we want a high turnover where there's no stability at all. So it's getting that balance right, and that balance between experience and new blood, and maintaining a fresh set of ideas. So I think it's not an easy task to get that balance, but good governance is going to is going to depend on the extent to which we're able to achieve that, I feel, Chair.
Thank you very much, Robert. I can't see anyone indicating on screen there. Please put your hands up in the room on screen if you have something to say. Can I offer just a few comments? Jeff, I think you've done really well, as I said, to distill a lot of information into this. And some of the comments that I'd made previously after the minutes came out reflect what you've added here. when you think about remote working, face-to-face, for me, I think it's really important to know people in your community, that low level, and also make links across the bigger network. And I love the family thinking and the buddy system. That kind of mutual support is key. And I absolutely appreciate Robert's insight. Day one, you're welcome. You are here. You know, that is powerful. And I've had less less positive experience when I was first a governor. Very daunting initially. When we think about new mechanisms, as mentioned in the report, short video guides I wondered about. You know, the idea of click on this. This is, you know, what is the disciplinary committee? So rather than, as you say, not bombarding or inundated people, Jeff, maybe there could be a short little 2-minute video guide that says this is this, that's that, and that's the other. You know, just a little parameter, possibly. My only other comment, apart from Mike White picking on the lawyers, of course, lawyers are all greedy, Steve. I mean, we know that. But, you know, I can understand that, Mike. But maybe in the recruitment process, this is about sort of really corporate social responsibility. It's if we want the lawyers, go to the law companies and say, who in your team can you free up to help us, please? Because they do a lot of pro bono work. I know lots of my legal colleagues do a lot of work for nothing. So maybe, you know, they are there, they can come, even though they might initially think personal profit. They secondly think corporate social responsibility is a very important badge to have. I've got to say this, hub mail. I had lots of emails about this, lots of, not emails, WhatsApp messages from councillor colleagues last week when the papers came out. It's lovely to know that people take such an interest, to be honest, and they looked at the draft papers. I'm not going to read out the comments, but a real fear that enforced migration to hub mail would cause extreme complexities. That Swansea.gov.uk is part of the public service network and is much more secure than the hub mail system. Some colleagues have said we know more about this than I do. And the idea of putting up barriers and not taking them down, so that if for example, now as a councillor, I'm on a governing body of 2 schools, and I get my email sent to me to Swansea.gov, my councillor email address, as lots of councillors have said, they have variation as well. So you're on 2 schools, some said I'm on the comp and I'm on the primary. The comp is content, but the primary put it on hub mail. It increases additional burden. So there's those kinds of queries there. We need to be taking away the hassle and not increasing. I'm not saying, Jeff, I'm not saying you can flick a switch and do this. I'm not saying that, but this is what I'm just reflecting perspectives. And if schools are part of the wider council system, then why do we need a separate system to communicate through the school system if we've already got a secure public service network? Genuine question, which may be beyond the scope of the committee to deal with. But that's the kind of, I hope councillor colleagues who might listen to this think I'm reflecting their perspectives, hopefully. Jeff, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I can give you a partial response to that, to that, Chair. Again, putting my Chair of Governors hat on, I feel for you. I'm the proud owner of 4 hub mail accounts, plus my work account, plus my personal account. So I absolutely get that. And I've had similar conversations in the authority that I'm a Chair of Governor from as well. Those messages have been sent loud and clear back to Welsh Government in terms of the rollout of hub mail as the default for governor business. And it was actually as a result of listening to some strong commentary from Swansea that we've had the delay in the introduction until the 30th of June for the multi-factor authentication element of that. It was a much harder, a much earlier hard cut off the Welsh Government were doing. What that has allowed us, Chair, is to give a longer lead in time to work with those governors who may need some support. And I also agree with you, there will be a repository then, what percentage of that will be who won't feel comfortable in moving to that. And obviously then within our statutory powers, there's still a requirement for papers to be served physically, so we can support that. So nobody will be disenfranchised by this step as such. Obviously what I'm doing is promoting the benefits of doing so, but absolutely attuned to some of the hurdles. And I don't want there to be obstacles in the way.
That's really helpful, Jeff. That really is. I'm just looking at some of the comments here, you know, and there's a lot of frustration, a lot of negativity. You know, the phrase I use often in this committee and others is overburdening the overburdened. You know, and we get a lot of information. personal note from me, through my job and through my role as a councillor that I love, there's an awful lot of electronic information. There's an awful lot of paper information. There's an awful lot of meetings. MS Teams, I don't know how many Teams channels I'm on. There's just a minefield of stuff. And I've been lucky never to suffer from mental health conditions, but I really feel the pressure of dealing with all of this communication. I'm sharing that because I'm honest about it. I would struggle if I was forced to go to Hubmail to have to think, oh gosh, I better check Hubmail to see if I've got any emails from the schools. I would struggle with that personally. What would the answer be? As you say, Jeff, do I then say to the schools in my governing body, oh, please send me the papers? That somebody's got to print it off, somebody's got to stick it in an envelope, or somebody's got to deliver it, and so there's additional costs attached to that. It just makes eminent sense for us, if possible, to use swansea.gov.uk as a secure method of communication. Brilliant response. So, Jeff, thank you very much for that. Any other comments in the room on the screen there? Anything to add, councillors?
Just totally agree with you, Mike. I would prefer things to come through my swansea.gov email, because otherwise you get so confused with all the different things that's coming through.
Thank you very much, Jan. Councillor Mike White. Can't hear you, Mike. Sorry, Mike, still can't hear you.
I think you're on mute,
So,
Mike.
yeah, sorry about that, folks. Yeah, no, I totally agree with Jana said. We got our Swansea one. I've got a personal one as well, and trying and things that are happening every hour. That's as council. There's always something happening. But coming back to the other point as well. But you mentioned in regards to the policy and perhaps doing a sort of introductory sessions for new governors in schools. Yeah, there are lots of things that we could perhaps roll out. As I say, there are issues around, the school development plan or areas like that, and different things within the school, and as you say, other policies that we got, within the school as well. So that there are sort of mechanisms that you could sort of implement on a training sort of process that would help embed new governors into the school environment.
Lovely, thank you, Mike. Councillor Jardine, Yvonne.
Thanks, Chair. It was just to say that a couple of schools in a project we've been working on, that governors are being linked. They're having shared. Governors are being linked with other governors who are senior, who have experience, and so they're mentoring and supporting them. So that does happen in some schools already, and certainly in the schools that I'm governor for. But I also wanted to ask, would anyone be going to the DARPOL training tomorrow? And all the governors that are on here are aware of the training. It's being put on by the Governor's Department and the Council.
Lovely, thank you, Yvonne. I think that one of Jeff's points earlier was building on best practice and looking at the excellence that's going on already and cascading that. And that sounds like an example of best practice that you've seen yourself there. As for the training tomorrow, I won't be attending that because I'm working. But what was the training? Did you say DARPOL? Did you say?
Yes, it is. I can't really remember exactly what it stands for, but it's diversity and equality and racism in schools. It's something that's being rolled out by Welsh Government. And I know tomorrow it's aimed at schools, but at governors.
Lovely, thank you, Yvonne. Lyndon, will you forgive me if I go to Helen Morgan Rees for the next speaker, please? Is that okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks to Councillor Jardine for flagging up the diversity, anti-racism, professional learning opportunity for all governors across Swansea tomorrow. It's really exciting.
Thanks.
Swansea is a
Sorry,
pioneering
Helen,
authority.
I totally got that wrong, didn't I?
No, you were fine, and it's the first local authority to engage on this level with this type of professional learning for governors. So Swansea is a trailblazer once again. I'd be delighted to see governors in this particular committee attend tomorrow if they can, because it's going to be a really exciting event. So thank you for flagging it up.
I believe Helen's opening it. Are you, Helen?
Yes, I am.
That's excellent. Thank you, Yvonne, and thank you, Helen. And as you say, once again, Swansea at the vanguard. Councillor Lynn Jones, please.
Great. Hi. So I'm afraid I can't attend tomorrow night. I've organised this CPR and defib training evening. I got about 70 people coming along, but I would like to do that because I think it's really important and a good message as well, and really useful. I was just going to say that the point made by others about hope, I totally agree with, because I've just reminded me I better have a look now to see if I haven't missed anything, and it's that extra task. But if it came through on our council email, it would certainly be better.
That's great. Thank you very much, Lyndon. So I can't see any hands up online or in the room. I'm looking at Councillor Joy. We content? We okay? Yes, lovely. Good. There we go then. So I think we can draw a line under that agenda item number 4 there. And again, Jeff, everyone's thank you for your efforts here. I think this is real, meaningful, meaty, well structured and clear, which is perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so agenda item number 5 is our work plan. And we are right at the end of the municipal year now, just about. So as we look at that, we see 22nd of March, which is today's event, and then we have the next meeting planned for the 26th of April. So my proposal for the 26th of April would be for us to work together with our Education Link Officer, Sarah, to pull together the key messages and the key learning points for this year in the 3 important areas that were established and explored in great detail: strengthening school leaders, inclusion and attendance, and of course, strengthening effective school governance. So that would be my proposal for us to pull that information together in something meaningful. That's a new word. You can use that yourselves if you want to. Something meaningful that can help to shape the next steps in education. Does anyone have anything to add to that proposal? Is the committee content with that approach?
Yeah.
Well, that is excellent. So I will, after the meeting, have a chat with Sarah. Sarah, if that is okay with you, and then we'll go from there and plan our way forward for the 26th of April. Okay, that is great. So the last thing on our agenda, as ever, is our next meeting, 26th of April at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And if there is nothing else to add, we should have a gavel, shouldn't we, really? Nothing else to add, I will close the meeting. Thank you all very much for your attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.